One of the things that I guess why I always used to be designated as like the truth teller or put in charge of every environment that I've always been in, I think is because I have a very keen ability to see things clearly and to state what not only I see, but what I know, and do so effectively. And I'm not afraid to call things out, even when the thing that I call out may not be something that is popular or something that people will like or something that people will even appreciate. I still call it out. What I've noticed in my older years is that I just call it out for myself as an exercise to just kind of say, yeah, you've been paying attention the whole time and you know what's going on. Hey, thanks so much and welcome to another episode of Managing My Own Radical Change. My name is Vonda Page. I am the hostess with the mostest. The mostest stories, the mostest education, the mostest learning when it comes to my whole lifetime of navigating, surviving, and recovering from narcissistic abuse. What I realize is that I have been navigating, surviving, and recovering from narcissistic abuse literally for probably going on 50 years, if not going on 45 years. And the reason I'm saying it's been that long is because at a super early age, somewhere probably around 6 or 7, I knew that it was nothing wrong with me and that it was something wrong with my mom. I knew that because of the way everybody else in the entire universe outside of my house treated me, I knew that it was not something wrong with me and that the reason my mom was so cruel, so mean, so horrible, so abusive was purely based on something that was wrong with her. And now I know that that something is narcissistic personality disorder. And she might have even had borderline personality disorder. I would have to really think about it and do some more deep dive. Some deeper dive is what you actually end up doing when you actually do the work of healing. And when you're doing healing consistently, when you are doing it persistently and with deep perseverance, and when you are determined to heal and recover, you'll find that there's always opportunities for learning and healing. And today, I was playing some background TV and I was listening to Everybody Loves Raymond. And usually when I'm watching something that I had watched back in, 20 or 30 years ago, however long the show was out, I try not to think too much and I try to just have it on in the background while I'm doing some busy work if I'm taking a break from some mind work, because I do a lot of mind work during the day, and I'll listen to music, and then I do a lot of quiet time where literally there's nothing running except for a fan, right? So today I had some Everybody Loves Raymond on, and Raymond was literally teaching Robert weaponized incompetence. And I said, well, this is one narcissist teaching another narcissist how to use a trick, right, in a specific way against a person that he probably didn't really want to use it against Amy. But literally, Raymond is teaching Robert weaponized incompetence. And I thought about how narcissistic that is. I thought about narcissism again on a personal level. And what I shared in many of the different podcasts is how when I first started looking at narcissism and studying it, I was studying it societally. I was studying it from the aspect of white supremacy and whiteness and how it actually operates in everyday relationships. But I did not think about it in the context of my own family. I did not think of narcissism and narcissistic abuse as what I have gone through with my mother, with my stepfather, with my grandfather, with some of my aunts, with 2 husbands, with 3 boyfriends, with 5 or 6 bosses, and with 4 or 5 women friends. That's a lot of people. I mean, maybe it's not a lot to some people. I don't know how many significant relationships you've had in your life, but I've had some significant relationships, and I would have to really say that 90 to 95% of the significant relationships I've had in my life have been narcissistic abuse, which is why I don't talk to 95% of the people that have been in my life most of my life, including my own mother, who now I haven't talked to in a year. But prior to 2023, I hadn't talked to her in 5 years because she discarded me. And at the time, I didn't really know what it was. I was just calling it abandonment, because abandonment is something she's been doing my whole life, leaving me places and not coming to pick me up and all that kind of shit. I've been used to that, right? Leaving me, in bad situations and all kinds of stuff. But I didn't think of the whole context of the abuse I suffered as a child, teenager, and then even the narcissistic abuse that I suffered as an adult. I didn't classify it under narcissism because we don't talk about narcissism in our society. We don't talk about it. We do not teach narcissism. We do not teach self-prioritization or self-well-being techniques to children, because if that's the case, every other child would be reporting child abuse, child neglect, child endangerment. Every other kid would be reporting a narcissistic parent, and it would be we would just live in a different world if it were normal to be able to protest narcissistic abuse and do something about it, or for narcissists to be held accountable. But what you have to do is stay away from narcissists. You have to stay away from narcissists. I mean, Ray is teaching Robert, a 40-something-year-old man, teaching another 40-something-year-old man how to use weaponized incompetence against his wife. And it's like I say, women, if you get married, you are signing up for indentured servitude, also known as slavery. And if you have a child, you and your child is going to be enslaved. And you're going to end up taking out the frustration and anger and sadness and trauma that you experience. You're going to end up taking it out on your child. Now, we take that trauma out on our child in different ways. Sometimes we take it out in helicopter parenting or being overprotective. And sometimes we take it out doing the exact same treatment that our parents treated us. Sometimes we do a little bit of both. Sometimes we do something totally different. I mean, like, I have clients who, they weren't allowed to have snacks as a kid. They grew up really poor. Well, they have money, like a lot of money, and they literally let their kids have anything they want. Anything, any candy, any toys, anything. And their kids have so many problems that they refuse to acknowledge their role in it. They refuse to acknowledge that they're not really there for their kids. They refuse to acknowledge that because they haven't healed their shit from their childhood, that their kids are suffering. And it's really sad. A lot of times after I work with clients for a certain amount of time, I have to tell them, hey, here's my recommendations. Here's the things you need to do over the next 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks or whatever. Feel free to reach back out. But what has to happen with people, and this is what I do, and this is why I happen to notice that, right? That weaponized incompetence is a manipulation tool that narcissists use, right? Oh, I don't know how to do something. All he has to do is pick out paper for the damn wedding invitation and a font. And write, what would you say? What do you say for wedding invitation? You say you're invited. You put the date, the time, the location, the city, the state, you put the RSVP information, you put the stuff. Like, he doesn't need her for that. He knows the date and time of the wedding. I mean, literally. And when you go to the wedding planner, and especially you go into the stationery store, they're going to have the template for you. And all you do is fill in the names and the date and the name of the location. They know that. So he's teaching him weaponized incompetence. And so narcissists, they work together and they will gang up to harm their each other's supply. And it's dangerous. And when you can spot narcissism in a stupid ass sitcom that literally is like just like I used to, when I used to watch any show, I pull out things, right, that I feel are harmful, or I pull out anything that I feel is like whatever, right? Now, I have to also say I went to school for communications. I have 2 degrees into communications, an undergraduate and a graduate. And some of the courses that I took in undergraduate were things like media ethics and communication, broadcasting, writing, journalism, broadcast journalism. I took creative writing. I took a bunch of writing classes. I mean, I was taking AP writing in high school by 10th grade. So that's like one of my things. Like, I'm a writer, right? I have books out now, and feel free to go to my stand store and purchase Dump DEI, purchase Decenter White Women, or purchase Your First Job is Healing. And the new project is coming out super soon. And it's going to be about the 6 steps, 6 steps for successful healing and recovery from narcissistic abuse. I don't have the exact title yet, but that's what it's about. It's about the 6 steps. And these 6 steps are actually what I have found are helpful for all healing. And I introduced 4 of the steps in Decenter White Women. And what I realized is that I needed to add these other 2 to really to hit it home. And so go to the stand store /Radical Change LLC, or just go to my website, which is radicalchangellc.my.canva.site. And you can find the latest happenings, plus download the app to reach out to me. Oh, and in September, and I may let y'all slide to October, but in September, if you write a review of either the podcast or the app, and screenshot it, you will get a free 15-minute consultation, which is a $98 value. And so download the app and send me a screenshot and let me know that you did a review of this podcast, Managing My Own Radical Change, from trauma to transformation, healing from narcissistic abuse, a lifetime of it, a lifetime. And I have another podcast, and it is called Radical Change Leadership. And that one is more so focused on the things that we discuss inside of the Acceleration Academy. And inside of the Acceleration Academy, we deep dive into technology, we deep dive into the workplace, and we deep dive into critical thought leadership topics on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays during the month. And there is also a once monthly multi-day symposium. And for September, the topic is power over procrastination. Power over procrastination. And that is the topic for September. Because as people start going back to school, as the clocks go back, as we get into that time of the year where there is a little less vitamin D going around, it is critical to understand the power that we can have over procrastination. And so you can find out more about all that kind of stuff by going to radicalchangellc.my.canva.site. That is the place to go. That is the place to be when you want to know what is what. So, okay, let's get back into it briefly. And then I'm going to let y'all go. So, Weaponized incompetence, used as a manipulation tactic. And it was super easy to figure out. Now, when I watch these sitcoms that I have seen over and over, you know, I don't really pay that much attention. And I was organizing my thoughts and working on my closet, and I had Raymond playing in the background. Just because, like I said, I had already done thought work, and I just needed something mindless, right? And I hear and see them saying stupid stuff. But that struck out at me as like, why is he trying to train him on being on weaponizing incompetence? And I was thinking when I was watching the show, like, okay, Marie is definitely a narcissist. Frank is definitely, he has a lot of those narcissist tendencies, right? Ray has tons of them. And Robert has tons too, right? And when you watch how Ray interacts with Deborah, I see him all the time. I see the narcissistic tendencies. Like, it's really crazy. And it's normalized. Because just like I watched that show for 10 years or 15 years or however long it came on, other people watched it and people still watching it. Because it was damn sure on YouTube the whole season. So we recognize narcissism as just the way they are. Oh, well, that's just Ray being Ray. That's just Ray being a good brother. That's just No, this is one narcissist teaching harmful, manipulative behavior to another person. And we're laughing at that and thinking it's funny. I thought about the laugh track and I said, oh, maybe I'll do a little study on it. And I really wanted to see when the laugh track came in. Because why would a show need to have people laughing in it? Why? Like, why? I don't need to have people laughing to know something is funny. I can laugh. Like when you go to the movies, there's nobody laughing in the movie. It's people in the audience that are laughing. So if I'm watching something on TV, I don't need to hear the audience laughing. I just want to hear what the people are saying. But when you start to really pay attention to sitcoms and you see the stuff that we laugh at or that the audience laughs at, and so then it's like, well, it must be funny if all these people are laughing. And especially if the laugh goes on and you still hear people giggling and at the end of it, right? And you hear people still laughing. And it makes you question, right? Like, how did we get this way? How did narcissism become so mainstream that people excuse it all the time? Well, here is a perfect freaking example. This is a perfect freaking example in everyday life. In everyday life. So, if I saw it in something like an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, right? I saw narcissism at play. I saw narcissism normalized. Just think about how normalized it is in everything else. I started rewatching Frasier. That was one of the shows I used to watch. I cannot watch Seinfeld now. He literally makes me sick. And probably if I learn more about Kelsey Grammer, I won't be able to watch Frasier anymore either. But I was thinking about how much of a narcissist Frasier is. And Niles, right? And how they were so indulgent and so, like spoiled, right? And given this life and been told that they're better than everyone. And they grew into these pretentious, whiny, bratty narcissists, right? Now, they both, the way they show the character, they show the characters are loving and kind people, right? That really love people, but they still have some very strong narcissistic tendencies. And there's things that they make it seem like is normal, but it's not normal, right? And even living that level of a life, right, is just so narcissistic in and of itself, right? Like, be for real, right? And you never get to see that they worked hard for anything. All you see is that they were given everything. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, it makes sense. Then you look back at Robert and Ray Barone, and in their 40s, their mother still wants to cook for them. Their mother wants to prove that they're a better mother than their wife. What's her name? Marie is always trying to prove that she's a better wife and a mother and a cook and a house cleaner than Deborah. Why? Why does she need to prove that? Why does she need to make Deborah feel small and inferior? Instead of just helping Deborah and helping her in a, like, hey, you let me know what you need, and let Deborah say, well, hey, could you, bring over a lasagna tomorrow? Okay, sure. Instead of just bringing one over and talking about, oh, I looked in your refrigerator and I saw you made a gross meatloaf. What the hell? But we laugh at it. Ha, 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 ha. It's supposed to be so funny. So narcissism is normalized inside of our society, inside of the programming that we get through television, through our media. And so if it's normalized in a sitcom, like Everybody Loves Raymond, that people are thinking, oh, this is just a mindless sitcom. It doesn't have any cursing. It has very little even mention of sex. And there's no mention of sex outside of marriage. I mean, other than, I guess, Robert and Amy. But, like, it's a very, it's supposed to be, a family-oriented show. I don't remember what time it came on because I used to only watch the reruns. So I used to see it at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. I don't know what time it comes on. But narcissism is normalized. And everybody loves Raymond, right? The head narcissist, and everybody loves him. But he was trained by other narcissists. Everybody loves him. And Robert's jealous. And jealousy is one of the key traits of narcissism. So, if you want to learn more about narcissism, I invite you to do research on Google. Definitely look up the 9 traits of narcissistic personality disorder. Look up borderline personality disorder. Follow the experts in narcissism. But just watch some of America's favorite sitcoms, and you will see narcissism normalized. So, once you understand and see how narcissism has had an impact on you, I'm going to recommend that you take a couple of the steps from the 6 steps. The first is just really acknowledging, yep, I was narcissistically abused. Acknowledge the things that people did to you. Acknowledge the harm that they caused. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. And then after you acknowledge it, right, then what you can do is you can assess the damage, assess the harm, assess the pain, assess the impact. Where are you now because of it? Are you a person that has substance abuse issues? Do you have trust issues? Are you a people pleaser? Do you have mental health issues as a result of it? And the likelihood is, yeah, you might even have physical issues. What I've learned from Dr. Romney and some others is that if you've been in long-term narcissistic abuse relationships, you have physical issues that are related to that. It's bad for your immune system. It's bad for your body. So get away from the narcissist. But first and foremost, right, as far as the steps, acknowledge what happened, acknowledge who did it. The second step is assess the damage, assess the harm. How are you coping with it now? Are you just coping, or are you in a process of healing? And then the third is accept that this is what happened, and accept that this is how you've been coping, and accept that none of it was your fault. I want to leave you with those 3 steps, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out on this edition of Managing My Own Radical Change, from trauma to transformation, healing and recovery from a lifetime of narcissistic abuse. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next episode. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Bye-bye.